Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the CantinaMX podcast, episode 197. We are 3 episodes away from our 200th episode here on the CantinaMX podcast. Glad that you are joining us live here on the YouTube, and of course, you can listen to this and other editions of our podcast downloaded directly to your device, either on iTunes or on Google Play. For more information, you can go to our website, soccerchronicle.com. You can like us on the Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram. Good Lord, we have an Instagram page, apparently. A lot of places where you can follow the CantinaMX podcast. A lot of information we put up. A lot of information for you to absorb about the world of soccer. Mainly focused on Mexican soccer. So it's like the world of soccer, but it's flavored by epazote here in the CantinaMX podcast. And we have a lot to talk about tonight, a lot to get to. We had a friendly that Mexico played last night in Atlanta. We also have some transfer rumors in Liga MX as the estufa caliente gets going in Liga MX. And, of course, as always, we'll take a look at the world of soccer and what's going on around the world. Big game today. People are signaling that Holland is back. So we'll talk about that as well. But before we do any of that, the first thing I need to do is, of course, introduce our panel of cantineros. First off is Joel Aceves joining us from beautiful Irvine, California. Joel, how are you, sir?
Greetings, John. I am doing quite well. I'm enjoying this romance with Tata Martino. He continues to woo me with every game that passes, Jon.
So he is making all the right moves for you, Joel.
Yes, he's hitting all the right buttons, saying all the right things. Shows up with flowers and a box of chocolates.
Well, that's right, because now you said after the friendlies in March that you would have already invited him up for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, you know what the moment was at the presser. I was at the presser with Profe Cambia. And my memory fails me because I forget which game it was. It was what was it against? I don't know if it was Chile or Paraguay.
Right, it was in San Diego or something.
San Diego, yes. And so I was there. I was at the post match, and he doubled down because he had made some comments about Liga MX being more competitive than La Liga, and some media was beginning to attack him. And he doubled down on that, and I was like, "Oh man, I like this."
So it's not the style of play for you. It's not the players he chooses.
No, it's everything.
It is his commitment to his convictions.
It's everything, Jon. He's a full package.
So he's got the soccer brains. He's got the media management. He's got the conviction, and he's from Argentina. So you're absolutely right. He's got
the accent. Yeah.
He's got it all. He's got it all.
Yeah. So but no, he's the team has been doing it's been doing good for. I know it's friendlies, but they've played all South American teams, which are no easy rivals. So and it's 10 goals for and 4 against.
Right.
So it's a good record. So he opened with a 3-1 win over Chile, and then he followed that up with a 4-2 over Paraguay, and then 3-1 against Venezuela. So not only has he beaten his rivals, but he outscored them. So he's fulfilling the 3 Gs, Jon.
He is. He definitely is fully 3G network capable. Of course, the 3Gs, Joel, for the uninitiated here on the CantinaMX podcast is the ganar, golear, and gustar, which apparently are the only criteria that Mexican coaches can be, which they can be judged. Because if they stray from any of those 3, 2 out of 3 is just not good enough. So you have to, and for Osorio, the only thing that was working for him, was the G that matters the most, which was ganar. The golear and gustar just never happened under Ricardo Osorio.
No,
So
you're
so
right.
so would you be I have to come up with a good nickname for someone
Yeah.
who is of the Tata
Right
persuasion. Now we
now I
have
have a Tata believer right now.
that's yeah, we'll have to work on that.
Yeah, we have
Well,
to work on.
the reason I say it's because we have the fans of Javier Lopez, otherwise known as La
Oh yes.
Chofis. We call them Chofi chasers here on the CantinaMX podcast. It's caught on a little bit. It needs to catch on a little more. The one that I was really shocked that didn't catch on, Joel, was when we coined the phrase, a fan of Andre Pierre Gignac.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember that one.
Exactly. It's just faded. It's wow. I think it's a good one, and it's clever and it's funny, but it just, for whatever reason, it's like one of those movies that maybe it'll become a cult favorite, in a couple of years, you
I
know.
could see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So
After
it's
he
so,
retires.
and then we had another one for the De La Torre, and I can't remember what it was. I have to think about that one. But yeah, so we do have some nicknames. So we'll have to come up with something a little clever. Oh, it was for Almeida. I forget what we had for Almeida, but it was very clever. So clever that we obviously don't remember it now. So we'll have to we'll have to think about that one. Yeah, so we'll have to come up with something better than that. I believe we'll have to come up with something. So we'll have to work. Maybe our fans can help us with here in the Cantina Menkis podcast. Send
Yes.
send us your thoughts. What would be the appropriate nickname used for the Tata Martino followers? Now, of course, to me, like the one that I have have always enjoyed so much, and it was extremely popular and well used, even to the point that it got initials, and that was the Netty Nut Riders, which then became, it was like a political party that became the NNR, but the
It did.
NNR. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was. I mean, how could you not be, a fan of that guy after what he did in his first big tournament? I mean, you're like, it's a guy we've been dreaming of for, in my lifetime. We've never had a guy like this. So yeah, I
No,
could I
we
could see
didn't.
how there was a lot of riding for it. It was hard, and
Yeah.
and,
Well,
and and
well,
frankly, it was justified back then.
yeah. We'll clarify though. Had a guy like him at the selección because Hugo was, he's just so much better. But yeah,
Well, yeah, but what we have to remember about Hugo, Joel, was that he, in the prime of his career, which was after Mexico '86 to really USA '94. Those 5 years he had at the Real Madrid, the last 5 years he had there, he was unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And he did not play one game for Mexico from 1986
yeah,
to 1993.
yeah. That's why. Yeah, at the national team level, he was never, he was like Messi. He was like
Well,
Messi.
I will agree
He was
with you
just,
in the early part of his career, but then I think in his second tanda from 93, the 93 94, he didn't score as many goals, but he had a ton of
yeah,
assists, and he was one of the reasons why they played as well as they did.
yeah. He did help out, but doesn't get remembered much for that. And then sadly, at the '94 World Cup, he got very little playing time.
Well, he started against Norway and played well. I mean, we have to remember back then. I mean, the Europeans particularly, they knew who he was, so he attracted us. Even at 36, I think that's how old he was at that point. He still attracted an unbelievable amount of attention, to the point where, if I'm, and maybe you can help me out this, if I'm not mistaken, when he came out in the onto the touchline in the game against Bulgaria, Hristo said that the Bulgarians came really close to just completely losing it, because they knew what he could do, and they were. He said it freaked us out. He said if he comes on the pitch, he says, I don't know we would if we would have won the game, because we were that scared of him. So of course, he didn't come onto the field, and the rest is history. So,
Yeah,
so
and but we did have Blanco, uh, you know, but I think the whole Neri just that he was playing in Europe,
well, he just signed.
it's
Well, and then after that, he signed. He had a $20 million uh, transfer fee to the club, and unfortunately, the club in the Ukraine
yeah, Ukraine, and he had gone to Man City as well.
under Sven. He was at Man City when Sven was the coach there before he coached Mexico. Yeah, so needless to say, we'll have to come up with a good nickname for those who follow Tata Martina, Tata Martino rather. We'll have to come up with a good one for that. So friendly last night, Joel. They played Venezuela. They were in Atlanta. Had about 50,000 folks show up there in Atlanta at their new Mercedes Benz Stadium, which is a very cool shaped, just a very nice stadium. Indoor has a really interesting. If they had any kind of pyrotechnics or whatever it was, there was a lot of like haze, in the. It gave it a very interesting ambience. It was instantly recognizable. Frankly, if you see that you just kind of think that's. Well, I think that's the stadium in Atlanta. So it's for some reason that part of that always sticks with me. The other thing it has, Joel, is artificial surface. And Mexico, yet again, in a lead up to a tournament, played a game on one of these fields, and there was a player that got a leg caught, and it came very close to doing some serious damage, not only to a player's leg, but a player's playing career and aspirations, and not even to mention the upcoming tournament. And it makes me wonder, Joel, and this is a question that that I'll pose to you and pose to everyone else that's listening. I understand you're going to play in the states, and I get that you have a contract signed and they're going to find. But can't you insist on, hey, make sure that we play in a stadium that has a natural playing, so that they don't have to truck one in? I mean, seriously, is that not too much to ask?
No, I think not, John.
I mean, like you say, go make sure you play one at Azteca North. It's never not going to do well at the gate. You know, I mean, the Coliseum will be half full, three-quarters full, and it's still going to have 70,000 people there. That's not bad.
Wait,
You know,
the Coliseum I think is only 90.
yeah, but I'm saying if it's three-quarters full, three-quarters of
Oh,
90 is 70,000.
okay, yeah, yeah. It'll look nice though at 70. I've been plenty times. Uh,
Exactly. So
yeah,
play one there. I wish the stadiums, and unfortunately the stadiums in Texas don't have a natural playing surface. So I mean, I just until somebody gets one, it just seems like, because now they're going to play in Arlington, and Arlington again has, they have a artificial surface. At this point, it'd be better to play on that than to play on the grass that they put in just for this one game. That when they played there in 2014, and of course, I'm not saying that the field was the reason why Luis Montes was injured, but Luis Montes got injured, and Rafa came extremely close to breaking a toe and missing the World Cup because he got stepped on. And it wasn't the fact that he'd gotten stepped on; it was the fact that he got stepped on concrete.
and well, just this past game,
Yeah,
Alvarez
right.
almost misses out on the Gold Cup. He left the game limping, and medical reports say that he's good to go. He's good to go, but it would have been a big loss for the team. I think along with Pizarro, he's some of the fresh, you know,
Well,
some
you're
of that
right.
fresh blood that's gonna come in and revitalize this aging tricolor.
And it is the right move to make, Joel, because that position, the holding, the contención, to me, is, the as we've talked about on the show many times. It is the most. unflattering, but yet as important as any position on the field, if not the most important position on the field. If you if your offense is clicking and doing stuff, it's because your contención is kicking all kinds of ass because he's getting the ball back for you and he's putting you all in position to go do something. And that I think a lot of people lose sight of that fact, and he's really good, Joel. He's really good at that, and a lot of people have noticed. And he's really young. Excuse me. And so he has a big future. See, he's the kind of player, Joel, like if they're saying he's going to go to Europe, dude, don't settle for Ajax, man. You have the skills to go, you know, to a bigger tier club than that, in my opinion. So he definitely has a bright future, and he's the guy that we thought Chaton was going to be in these last 7 years. You know that he'd be like naturally passing the baton to Edson Alvarez. But we didn't have one to the point, Joel, where Rafa Marquez had to play at 38 in a World Cup because Mexico did not have any decent contenciones.
Yeah, they were even playing Salcedo. I mean Salcido. Salcido.
Yeah, you know who did that? Your boy Chepo.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
But what I'm not going to tell you, Joel, is that his club coach was the first one to do it, and his club coach was Tuca. But Chepo didn't have to go to get Tuca. Come on, man, this guy's a wing back. Go back to the wing. He left him at the, and he wasn't bad at it, but he was not. You know, he's a wing. He's a lateral. He's not a put a central as a contención, not a not a lateral. Different skill set altogether. So yeah, so that was exactly I mean they just Mexico just didn't. We had Gallito, and Gallito was terrific in 2014, but Gallito did not fit into the criteria that Juan Carlos Osorio wanted, which of course he needed to be about a foot taller, and Juan Carlos Osorio was not just didn't even consider him.
yeah, that's the thing right now with Tata, where some of these other players are gonna get a shot, and Pizarro is the other big name right there, so, to look out for.
Well, this is the
Uh,
chance for them to make this their team. For Edson and Pizarro both. And Pizarro had a decent game last night. Joel scored a goal and was just he's just the kind of player who's just constantly involved, and he has a big opportunity ahead of him. Probably more so than anyone else in the World Cup in this tournament, not just for Mexico, but in the entire tournament of really making a name for himself. So, do you think he'll be able to deliver?
I do. I do think he will. You can see the players enjoying themselves, and that's a good. That's always a good sign.
Now, are you surprised or well? Let me ask you this: we've talked about this Gold Cup before. When with Tataro as one that he had to have, and especially if they were going to have the added carrot of the Confederations Cup as the reward for winning this. Well, there's no longer a Confederations Cup. So, do you think that was part of the reason as to why he wasn't as concerned or as upset about having some of the more established players, understandably take a pass?
Now, I do think. Yeah, I do think because he's walking into an all-you-can-eat feast. You know, the table was set, the fine china,
Right.
and all the fixings, and he had you know all this good food. And then as the day gets closer, they start eliminating things. So yeah, it has made his task a bit more difficult.
Right. So
I think if he had a full tricolor, man, we were looking at a steamroll of that tournament. All you had to do was show up, cause It's just seeing how a lot of the region is right now. It's not that strong. We just had the U.S. lose to Jamaica, uh, and some of these teams haven't shown much improvement. Not Panama, not Costa Rica, none of them. And if just looking at how players are an individual, Mexico is right now top. You know,
Sure. That's incredibly disappointing that's happened, Joel, because no, no, I'm
yeah.
not. I'm not talking about the region itself. I
No,
mean,
no, no.
the
That I
region
know,
should
but
be. Go ahead.
no, no, no. I was laughing. I agree with you. It's that Mexico when it has, that opportunity, and then it's sort of something like this happens. You
Oh well,
know,
it's never. I mean, Mexico can't ever go into a Gold Cup without something happening.
was,
You know.
was that commercial? Have you seen that commercial where that one dude? It's like an insurance, and he's like the bad luck guy.
Oh yeah, it's
And
O'Reilly from Oz.
that dude showed up. That dude showed up with a two tatas, two tatas
That's right.
thing. But but
Showed up with a Sharpie. You know what happened is he's getting ready to eat, like he's at the buffet, right? Tata Martino is called, and he's like, man, that filet mignon looks really, and he's got the carnitas and like the really good beans, and have you ever had like arroz con rajas with a real creamy
I
rice,
don't.
the cheese with the chile poblano on top
Oh yeah,
that are
I've had it
roasted on,
once. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and then they come and he's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have a best meal of my life. And then just as he's getting ready, as he gets in line, the waiters come and take all of that, and then put,
They put a hungry man
exactly
microwave meal.
right, a couple of stale bolillos and some ham that you're wondering, is that pink or ashy gray? It just yeah, it's just not the same thing. No, it's not that bad. Obviously, we're making a joke, but you're right though. I mean, he had this option. He's like, well, I got this, this great team. It'll be their swan. So see, I always thought it would have, if the Confed Cup was the prize, I think that this would have been the swan song for the Gios and the Velas and the one last tournament.
Yes.
And but when they took that thing away, they're like, why on earth they're going to do this again in 2 years? Why on earth? Why that means it means nothing. I mean, it just unfortunately it
Yeah.
doesn't have the same meaning as it would if it was played every 4 years
Yeah.
or if they had the Confed Cup. Yes, I think a lot of those guys were like, I
It's
haven't
it's
had a break in 6 years. Maybe it's time for me to sit this one out.
yeah, it's a combination of that and also what's been going on with with the national team and there's been talk about this since months before. So sort of what was going on with I'm at a loss for words right here, Yon. Uh, like money that they
With the
get for
primas,
for doing promos, yeah, for cutting, yeah, for doing stuff with the sponsors and
dude,
whatnot. So
this is why, Joel. I'm telling you, when they went to Valle del Bravo and they took them away from, Chicharito. I mean, you should, more than anybody, be upset at Nestor. Was having the season of his life at Chivas. He and through 8 games had what 11 goals or whatever it was, and then they took him out with like 6 weeks to go in the league to go to Valle but have to do their quote unquote intensive training. All they did there was shoot commercials, man. So
yeah, but
so
but that's
the players were furious, dude. They were furious, and if they didn't get money for that, even more so, man.
yeah, but you're going way back now.
Well, I mean, if you're wondering what happened with the whole Nestor thing, that was the beginning of it.
Yeah, but it wasn't just him. I mean, I don't.
I'm not saying it was, but he was probably he was. You have to understand, he's the face of it. He was the
He
go.
was the face of it, but that was the whole party, and it wasn't the his thing was putting discipline for players partying. He's like, when you're with the selección, I just want you to concentrate on selección stuff. So there was other stuff going on, and I know we don't get always the full, you know, we don't get all
Yeah.
of it. We just get some of it.
And
Like
that's
you,
fine, and I get that, and I understand. But I'm just telling you that from that point on is when the relationship soured.
I don't know, cause that's still what you're going back. What, like two World
No,
Cups?
no. Well, I mean, to me, this is where everything that's happened has now culminated in this decade began with that. Not,
Well,
not, 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 not la famosa fiesta que tuvieron en Monterrey, o donde llegaron niñas. Oh my, niñas. There were girls at the party. Joel. How dare they? How
but
dare these saints have
yeah,
girls at a
but
party?
see, the FMF sort of like gave in, and
They had no
that's
choice.
why. Well, I think they did, and but I think that that's why Mr. quit. But the whole thing, I think, in more recent times,
But
I
okay,
think there's
right.
been more money
But
with
who were the
sponsors
players?
and
Who were the
whatnot.
right, who were the players that were involved back then in 2010? It was Chicharito and Giovanni.
Yeah,
There were Moreno. A lot of the players that were playing in 2010, and Carlos Vela was on that team. Uh,
no, yeah,
were
but I
players that
feel
played
like
in 2018 and
two
were players.
different issues here.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, but what I'm saying is that to me was the beginning of this whole. Not want to say distrust, but just friction between the players and the press and the confederation and or the federation rather, and then because in that same World Cup, all of a sudden, one newspaper is shooting is taking pictures of Cuauhtemoc smoking out the hotel window during the World Cup, and I think it was Marca, who coincidentally were the same ones that got the pictures of the famosa fiesta in Monterrey. I wonder who Joel was the one that gave him that scoop. I can't imagine who it could have been.
Well, I know you like
I,
to say
I wonder who
it
it
was
was.
Nestor, but
He was
it
trying to
was
embarrass him. He wanted to embarrass him
I don't think so because he still has like a lot of good connections there. I don't think he will go that far. And I've heard it was one of the security guards from it was one of the security guards that got bought out by the newspaper because I think if it was him, they would have thrown him under the bus. I don't think the players would have let him get away with that if they would have found out that he did something like that, and they would have just burned him so much that I just wouldn't be able to see him working again. With football. But
Well, he only got
I
one gig
heard,
after that.
yeah, but he's turned down a lot. So it's like he's chose not to work.
Anyway, so then that happens, and then Chepo comes on, and they have the whole thing with Vela, which was who knows what we'll never know the true story. But I mean, to me, I'm not really putting on my conspiracy theory hat, but I think it had to do a lot with his relationship at Chivas and
Oh yeah,
the way that
that's
he was singled out at
that's
the.
that's a mighty big right there, yo. And you're wearing
Well,
a
but I'm not
Tim
saying
Polo
it was the
sombrero.
reason. I'm saying it was probably a culmination of a lot of little factors, and I think both sides were like, you know what, let's just not even, let's just walk away for this one, and they just yeah. So just for whatever reason, that ended up happening, and that that was that festered and when and then of course we had I mean just the whole falling apart of the Chepo regime rather, and then with Herrera coming in and him having his 6 month honeymoon because he happened to do it with the World Cup, and the whole thing with hip, and not just the hip, but the way that whole Gold Cup, the players were just, they would refuse to talk to the press because of some of the stories that the press was coming up with. I mean, the Tenimiento como record and all that stuff. And so I'm telling you, I think that a lot of these things, these are definitely, it was just a snowball, and I think the snowball finally hit in this year, and now it's time to start again.
Yeah, but I mean, I see some of these dudes. They know they're in their last run, and they're probably just trying to cash out. And there's like, okay, I can make this much. Uh, if you don't agree with it, then I don't have to be here just because I already did everything. And at this point, a lot of these guys figure out that the selección is making more money off of them
Right.
than they could. Like selección right now, it's for players like Pizarro, and Alvarez and a bunch of other guys like them that just being with the national team is going to raise their profile. But the Chicharos, Tavelas, even Guardados, even though he's there, they don't need it. They don't need that anymore. But I do feel like some of these guys, they feel like they're being taken for a ride. And there was rumors from it was from last year where Chicharo got like in a he got like into he got into it with the Federación because they wanted him to cut some promos with the Cowboys. I think they were playing a game at the stadium, and he was like, "Dude, I was called to do a friendly, not to come and shoot a commercial."
Right.
And if I'm supposed to shoot a commercial, um, then where's my cut? And so he ended up not doing it. And this was leaked or or the story, sometime last year, and they were even saying back then how like don't expect to see like Chicharo and Layun with the national team for some time. Uh, so so I do think there's some to that. There, there's some truth to that. Whereas like some of these players just want the selección to give them a bigger slice of the pie.
Right.
Um,
And I get that, and but but I do think, Joel, that it all stems from that trip in Violet. But also, I think that what we can say, Joel, is it based on that hypothesis that the decade that we as fans saw after at 2010, that thought that Mexico would have a chance to maybe make the semifinals in one of the two upcoming World Cups. Obviously, was that dream was ruined by Nestor de la Torre. So because
oh
because
man,
because of taking the team to Valle de Bravo for their quote
oh
unquote
man, you
intensive
make it seem
training.
like it was his idea. Come on, man.
It's all
Too much hate
it's
on
all
Nestor,
Nestor
man. I don't
stuff.
know what he did to you, Yon, but you seem to have it up for that guy. Just blame me. But
No, it's
you
I,
know,
I kid, of course. I know it wasn't. I know that Nestor was just like I said, he was just the face of the of that whole.
no, you know, he was trying to get the team to be more professional and just cut out that party thing and because he felt, whether he's right or wrong, he felt that team that partying like that affects the team, and it's something that kept happening because even in when they were in Brazil, the team were all going. They went to a
Who
uh,
cares?
famous cat house. No, no, you saying who cares? But it for some of these players, it's been distracting. Same as the whole party before the World Cup. So it's like you keep running into these dumb distractions, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that a player, against Sweden is like running down the field chasing a Sweden stop. You go, wow, I remember that party that we had before the World War. And come on, man.
no, it's not like that. But you have, for example, it was Hector Herrera. Was it Hector Herrera? Yeah, who had to travel back to Portugal, to smooth things out with the wife.
Put out some fires.
Yeah, so I mean, come on. So I mean, I do. I mean, I agree with you where it's like it doesn't matter, but I think it doesn't matter for certain players that they could pull that off. That's like their lifestyle. But then there's other players that like they're married or they have all these other issues going on, and it ends up affecting them. It's a big thing with like Salcedo as well, where he was big
So
reason
again,
he
so,
he
so
moved.
that goes back in, again to the the saint warrior complex that I'm not going to that a lot of fans have in regard to how they view their players need to give it everything they got on the playing surface, on the playing field, when they're performing their task of professional athlete, but off the field they have to be choir boys, and they have to get up at 8, and put their hands up and walk around and quote scripture for 14 hours, and then go back to bed so that their little angelic bodies don't get hurt. And they have to do that again. They can practice, of course, until they're when they go back onto the plane surface, where they have to be these relentless, uh, just killers. So I just don't understand that, the whole, whether they have parties and that. And again, it just, I don't know. I mean, I understand the whole discipline thing, but I mean, I just think that, if it's a team where they're paying you gobs of money to be on that team, then I think that particular tactic might work a little better. But when you said, I mean, if they're not making, if this is like their little side gig, that they're like the weekend of a National Guard, or it's a little different. And I think that unfortunately, I think is one of the things that plagues uh, Mexico. Not particularly just that, but just the whole, just it seems like whatever they try never ever seems to work out.
No, but I don't see it as that big of an issue just because I do think that some of these guys will eventually are gonna get weeded out, and I think they know that. They understand that. Vela said it clearly. I'm gonna be 34. You know, by the time the World Cup rolls around, he doesn't even expect to be at the top of his game. He's saying there should be better players by that point. Uh, so I do think some of these guys they understand that. So they're just saying, "Hey man, you need me now, then cough up the moolah." Because I can understand, man. The whole traveling gets tiring after doing these 14, 15-hour flights.
Sure, no, I certainly understand.
Yeah, and
Again,
then you.
I have to, I put all the blame at Nestor's feet. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Now let's talk about Tata then. So we talked, we started about Tata and your do you ever watch the Larry Sanders Show?
uh, Not really. I never got the chance.
No. Do you have HBO Go
I
or
do.
HBO? Yeah.
I do have it,
Do
sir.
yourself a favor, Joel, and watch. There's an episode. I'll have to find the episode title for you, where David Duchovny is a guest. The guy from X Files is a guest on the show, because Larry Sanders Show is about a late night talk show host, and like a late the actual, and the behind the scenes of how they of of how they put together the show. It's outstanding. It's really good, and it's really funny. And David Duchovny is a guest, and Larry thinks that he has a big crush on him, and it's just it's absolutely hilarious. And I think that right now, Frank, right now, that you are David Duchovny in that episode. I think that you're when it comes to Tata, you are definitely crushing on Tata Martino. Joel. He's
No,
pushing all the,
it's hard not to,
yeah.
Yon. It's hard not to. I want to point at something that that Menotti said. Cesar Luis Menotti. It's a big influence on pretty much the majority of Argentine coaches. He was the first guy to give Argentina a World Cup. So he said a coach has to generate an idea, then he has to convince that that idea is what is going to accompany and look for efficiency. Then he needs to find players with the commitment that when they're met with adversity, is not going to abandon that idea. So I do feel like what he's talking about, like finding a style of play, and I think he's he has convinced this Mexico squad of his style and how they're
Already?
gonna play, and that Yeah, I do think already. I mean, I think these results have spoken. The three results. Normally, normally we would have seen Mexico struggle a bit, especially with those type of opponents. But we've seen the opposite. You know, we're seeing them playing and enjoying themselves. So I do feel that he's managed to do that in a short amount of time, of convincing the players he has, of what he has in store for them, and and that's what's going to work. And I feel that they're going all out for him.
Well, the one player that when Tata had him for the first time back in March, the only player that started both matches was Edson Alvarez, and that to me was a clear sign. I think it was a clear sign to everybody that Tata has big plans for Edson Alvarez.
Yes,
Yeah,
future
that's one
copy.
exactly. He is the
We're
future captain.
we're calling it here first, Yon.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard it, and I listened to many of the top, like Picante and sometimes a Fox show name I forget, and some of the
La
ESPN
última
radio.
palabra.
Yes, and then some of the other ones. I like Jesus man. It's this
Well,
Mango Micheladas hitting me. And I forget, what's that Argentine guy's name? He was the Americanista, left the team after the earthquake. Um,
Brailovsky,
yes, I don't know if he's still there, but I really like this commentary.
Russo.
El Russo,
Well,
yes, he's
the sad thing about Russo is that all they try and do is troll him on the show because they want it seriously because they want to get a rise out of him.
oh yeah,
They never let him talk about
yeah,
about
his
what and you're right. He sees the game so differently
yeah.
than most of the folks but
That
they're
was
always that's what drives me crazy about that
now
show.
now you're reminding me why I stopped watching. And that was a big reason why I watched, because of Russo, man. I really liked his commentary, the key points he would hit, and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
and and I really like his insight. And yeah, but you're right. These guys would try to just piss him off and then try to
right.
go into a pissing match. And it's like, oh man, come on, man. This guy is teaching stuff here, man. He's got pearls here, man. And
Yeah, well,
you're
I mean, they all learned from the greatest troll ever, which is Jose Ramon. Who I remember when they had Chucho Ramirez on, who was when Chucho was coaching America. The first question he asked him was just this ridiculous, like just kicking the nuts question. It's like, really, dude? It's like that's the first question you're gonna ask him.
kicking the nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah, right in the
just
nards.
just the thing. But anyway, yeah. So future captain, and the worst part for it is that he should be taking the captain's armband from Chaton because Chaton should be the captain of the team right now.
Chato. No, it's still Guardado, man. We took him out of the hospice and rolled him right into the Gold Cup, and he scored a goal. So I mean, he's
He
still
actually of the three goals was the one that I thought was the most impressive, just because of the fact of just how his technique and everything. I mean, he Guardado for some reason has from Mexico at least has just not shot. Like he hasn't like taken a shot in I don't know 6 years. Like it's been a while.
yeah. I gotta like his professionalism. I think having him there, especially now that Marquez is retired, I think it's really important having a player of that caliber.
Well, I mean,
Still in the team.
deserves to be the captain right now because he's been on the starting since what is it 06.
Yeah.
So 13 years and 13 out good years. I mean, it's not like he's like, oh man. I mean, how often do people say, man, that Guardado, he's got to go? How often
No,
does that?
no, and he's playing in La Liga, and he's doing good.
And he's played in La
I
Liga
mean,
for 13 years.
huh?
He's
No,
played in
no.
Europe for 13 years.
Oh, in Europe, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he has. So I mean, I think it's good to have a player like that. But all in all, so uh, Tata is doing good, and he has what, a friendly game. Is it tomorrow versus Ecuador?
No, it's Sunday. It's going to be Sunday over at the Death Star in
What's
Arlington.
tomorrow? There's a game tomorrow? My mind is playing tricks on me on under 20. I think I must be
No, the
thinking
other 20.
And the 8th,
The under 20 are they were done last week, Joel.
they no, no, but the World Cup, Ecuador is playing. Ecuador is playing the U.S. I must have been thinking the under 20 game.
Oh, I couldn't. Yeah, I suppose so. I honestly I don't know.
Yeah,
I am not
no.
sure.
So that'll be the fourth South American rival right there. Um, so yeah, I expect, and I don't expect Tata's run to continue, because I think a lot of times you want to experiment or try things, and that's what the friendlies are for. So I wouldn't be upset if the team has an off day, just because sometimes you just have to try something different.
Right. Well, the one thing that I wish, uh, that I would want Tata to see before the Gold Cup is how teams are going to defend Mexico in the Gold Cup because Ecuador and Chile and Paraguay and
Yeah,
now are not going to defend the way that Canada and Honduras and El Salvador and Costa Rica, they're going to be a lot more committed to defending than the teams that. Everything all right?
yes. I
All right.
was just getting something from the fridge. I didn't realize I made that much noise, Yon.
Good Lord, it sounded like it sounded like you were throwing something around.
Oh,
Anyway, yeah. So it would have been nice to see him play, in one of these at least. A team that's a little more defensive than than what he'll confront, just to see how he'll react and how his players will react. But no, it is. I mean, it is definitely very promising. I know that I mean, you can't ask for a coach with a better resume than Tata has, and it still makes me laugh that his worst loss as a national team coach was at the hands of Hugo Sanchez, uh, which uh, which cracks me up in the '07 Copa America in the quarterfinals when Hugo and Mexico beat them 6-0. That was when what was so weird about that game was that was an early red card because the goalie was the ultimo hombre and he tackled Netty in the area. So there's a penalty kick in it, and when it was he was going to get a red, and he did. And instead of taking out a forward, Tata took out a contención. So he played.
he
He
learned
played.
that lesson.
Well, I
We
would
just
hope
went full circle, Yon. We were talking about Hugo and Nettie earlier,
that's right. That's right.
and now we've tied it back up
That is
together.
two circles that we
If
have that we are tying
if you
together.
were wondering earlier, what does that have to do? What on earth does that have to do with anything?
You're because Netty. You're
Here you
right.
go.
'Cause Netty scored 2 goals in that game. You're right. That was
Nettie.
that was part of the the brief Netty summer of '42 that we had with Netty Castillo.
Nettie. He's been known to answer people. Um, I know he was on Twitter and then on Facebook. And our old panelist Pern, he would message him from time to time, and he Nettie replied to him once.
Really,
I remember he screenshot it and he would show us.
that is uh, that is outstanding.
Yeah, I could see, I could see Pern writing him like a suicide letter.
For all of
It's
the
like,
stuff that we make with that we kid Fernando about and just chastise him for all how could you have that opinion and just constantly. He has been dead right about so many things. It's scary. It's to
nah,
the it's
man.
to the
He
point
he
where we
to
almost
me
know what he's talking about.
to me just throws a bunch of darts and some of them are bound to hit.
Well, out of the 10 darts he threw, he had bullseye on like 9 of them. So
Nah, he would throw more, John. Come on. We gotta go back to the archives. He threw more like 100 and he hit
oh
nine.
stop, oh stop.
No, you coined them the governor.
Senator, because he wouldn't answer the
That's
question.
it. Exactly.
That's right.
If, so if he answered the questions, then I would have been praising him. But the fact that he would never answer it to me, then okay, then you're just reaching there.
Well, he played his role very well. He played his role very well. I
Yeah,
have a lot of respect for Fernando because he like I am was very anti Nestor, and I have to respect the man for that.
he's anti anything, Chiva, man.
That is true. He thought that Javier was like the biggest most overhyped player in history.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
he's
10 years ago.
gonna take a while to break his record. Mm, who knows if Raul could do it? But Chicharo has over 100 goals. Not sure how many Raul has, but no easy task.
No, I mean Raul has like maybe 30. I would say that he scored in Europe, maybe even less.
Yeah,
It's a
no, Chicharo has like over 100 in all. All competitions from Champions League, EPL, La Liga, you name it.
so interesting fact, Joel. Raul Jimenez was Mexico's captain last night when Guardado was not on the pitch.
I missed the first half, Yon. I was asleep. I woke up, turned on the game around the 60th minute, and got to see Guardado's goal.
It was very well taken by Guardado. And so
And
do you
I
think that it didn't take long for the players to grasp the philosophy,
no,
the idea that that Tata wanted them to do, and because of that, because of their quick and easy assimilation, you feel that gives Mexico at this point the position of prohibitive favorite for for the upcoming tournament.
oh yeah, that. Not only that, also the players. Despite missing some of the stalwarts, player for player, I don't think any selección in the region is going to be as strong as Mexico. So yeah, we have those two things going for El Tri.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we could see the next friendly and then start talking about Gold Cup or the rivals. Even though, without due respect, there's not much to say about the group stage.
Well, the
You know,
rivals are going to be Costa Rica up as a possible matchup in the semis, and then the
yeah.
U.S. and then the U.S. in the final, U.S. or Jamaica in the final.
No, I know, but for the group stage, it's sort of like
Well, they
it's
do
like
play
just
Canada,
Mexico's like
and it would be
sparring.
interesting. They do play Canada, and they play Cuba and Martinique, but they do play
Yeah,
Canada, and I just want to see where Canada is.
yeah. I mean, I think they have one player that's in the Bundesliga, I believe. Uh,
Yeah, well, they sent a 16-year-old. I can't remember what his name is, and he played at Vancouver Whitecaps, and he ended up going to Bayern Munich. And I don't know if he played that
there
much
you
at all.
go. That's him. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, they're
he's
far
pretty
off
good,
from when they had the Rossi. They had this pretty good squad about 2 cycles back.
right? They had Dwayne.
Where,
They came very close to knocking Mexico
yeah,
out.
yeah, that's the team that must have been devastating to have missed out because they had a decent generation, and I think it hurt them not being able to qualify
Right, because they had.
off of those.
I think that they ended up losing to Trinidad or something at the end of it, and let Honduras through.
Yeah, and this was a team that had beaten Colombia, I believe, for the Gold Cup. They won a Gold Cup final. They won a Gold Cup
Yeah, but that was 2002, so that was a little while before.
too. But I'm wondering if they had some of those players were there.
I'm sure they had a handful of them,
At
but
least, yeah, a few. But I mean, that's how that's usually how it works. You have some of these players that are successful to some level, and then they're able to carry that into the next cycle. where the players they see that, it's like like Mexico beats Brazil in '95 Gold Cup, and it's like, oh snap, we could beat this team.
Right.
As of before, they had no reference. Before it's like, oh no, it's Brazil. Just let's just bend over, spread the cheeks. But once you beat them, you're like, yeah, we have a fighting chance. So you kind of had Mexico, and then they ended up beating Brazil a bunch of more times, '99 and 2002, and then by the time they meet at the World Cup, they're able to, you know, get a tie in Brazil. But they had like all these all these games to go off of like we faced Brazil in all these tournaments, and we held our own or we've beaten them, just like Olympics and under 17. So I think that was Canada's thing. They needed to build off of that Gold Cup win to be like, look, we beat these teams, or we did better than these teams. So this is what we're capable of. But to go from that to not even qualifying, to me that hurt them. It like set
Yeah.
them
Well, they've
back.
only qualified for one hole. It was 1986, so it's been a while since we've seen Canada in a World Cup. Now they're going to make
Yeah,
the 2026 World Cup because they're going to be one of the hosts. So,
that's true.
I mean,
That is true.
just like Mexico and just like the U.S., I'm sure that they have their proyecto to get them to where they can at least make it, out of the group stage at their home World Cup.
I'll be fielding a very young team if I'm Canada.
Yeah, I would
I
too.
mean, I'd throw in the under 23, man.
Yeah,
That's just,
that's why I'm asking. Let's see what they have now about that plain surface hole. Like I mentioned, now in the Gold Cup, at least for the group stage, Mexico is going to be playing. Actually, for all but one game, if I'm not mistaken, Mexico is going to be playing on the natural grass because they're playing in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. That's that they open, I believe against Cuba, and then they go to Denver, which has a natural grass surface. They'll be playing Canada, so they'll be playing Canada in Denver. That'll be the big one, and then I'll be in Charlotte for Mexico playing Martinique again on a natural plain surface. The quarterfinal is going to be at Glendale, so that's a natural plain. So that's the stadium hood where they wheel the field in and out so that they let it have the natural light uh, during the rest of the time, and then they wheel it in the night before for the game, and they play, and then they wheel it back out when they're done. So they might as they're playing even though it's indoor, they are playing on a natural surface. And then I think the semis are in Houston, which is so that's the only one that it's not. But by that point, they will have had a couple of weeks for the grass to settle in. So we should be that they should be okay there. And then the final is at Soldier Field in Chicago, which again is a natural playing surface. So these tournaments should make sure that they play in stadiums. At the Gold Cup, whatever play in these stadiums that have the natural grass surface. I remember one time they were playing at the Meadowlands. It was when Ugo was coaching in the Gold Cup where they lost to the U.S. in '07, and they're in the Meadowlands, which at the time was the fake stuff, and then they put the grass on top, and Ugo's like hitting it like he's like his hand is a hammer, and his hand is just instead of just like we hit grass, it just kind of you just kind of settle in. It's like bouncing off like it's a trampoline almost. It's just terrible. And yeah, it was like he even said it was just a terrible plane. So there's no way anyone could play a game of soccer on a plane surface like this.
oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, Yon, our good friend Ron sent me a message. He said if you could send him the invite again. He said he could log in for a few minutes.
I did send him the invite.
I don't know if he got it.
Hmm.
So we have tricolor talk, and I think we pretty much said right now we could go into Liga MX.
So can we agree then, Joel, that the decade of the 2010s as it comes to a close here, we can then agree that the lack of results that Mexico fans were expecting was due mainly to Nestor de la Torre and his management. So
No,
is that where is that the conclusion that we're coming to?
no, I
No,
don't agree with that.
you don't agree with that. Okay. So moving on, we'll talk a little more Gold Cup in the next episode as we I guess at that point it'll be between the friendly and the first match, which will be at the Rose Bowl, which if I'm not mistaken, Juan, I believe you will be attending. You will be in Pasadena.
I was approved, but I haven't even. I need because they do a two-step thing where you got to get approved for press pass, and then you have to apply to the games.
Right.
Where
Well, you should,
before it was like you. Well, I don't know if it was before. It's been a while, but yeah, I need to put the game thing there. I just haven't.
you haven't applied for the game. It's really easy. You literally just click apply, and that's all you
No,
have.
I know. I need to do that.
Ay, ay, ay. You know, just for that, Joel,
Hoy, mira el águila que llega.
I feel like I should play that every time we need to punish you for whatever wrongdoing you've been accused of, is to play Parchis singing the America theme, which would be appropriate at this time. So we'll have we will talk more Mexico at that time. But it is time to talk a little Liga MX, Joel, a little hot stove talk. Joel, I was under the impression, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, that 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 I believe you Chivas de Guadalajara, which is the team that they play in Guadalajara, correct?
Excuse me?
Chivas, they play in Guadalajara. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So Chivas de Guadalajara. We're in the process of lassoing in a lot of top quality Liga MX players to help them try to Im- improve their magnetic field enough to where it's strong enough to attract the Chivas comet back into the Earth's orbit.
Yes.
And it appears that is not the case. Is that correct?
That that seems that's where it's headed because um, I was expecting and I even was predicting that they were gonna pick up at least three good players for the not for the selection, uh, for the squad, but three players that are like selection material. Um, especially because they're renewing contracts, TV contracts, and then sponsorship deals and whatnot. But something seems to be happening. I don't know what's going on. Just because we don't have access to that. But instead of getting these top refuerzos, we're seeing Chivas digging in the not even in the bargain bin, John. They're more like digging in the goodwill donation bin, trying to see what they could pull out of there.
They're going to the clearance aisle at Big Lots.
I mean, they're announcing players returning as refuerzos. Toño Rodriguez, was a good player. He's a good player, but
What's wrong with
he was
Godinho?
on loan. Nothing is wrong, but I do feel that they needed more competition back there, and I think that's healthy having two players. And I also
So
think
Chicharo
that
hasn't been announced. Chicharo hasn't been announced
no,
yet.
no
No.
Chicharo, but just to finish up Antonio, he has more experience than Godinho. He has way more games in first division. So while there's nothing wrong with Dino, he's still kind of green. He still needs more playing time. And Antonio's just more, he has more experience
So is he
on
there
that.
to replace him, or is he there to push him?
I think it's both. It's both because I think whoever ends up being the better GK is going to take the starting spot. I give
Well,
the edge right now to Tonio, but I think they still have good hopes for Godinho.
well,
And
I would expect that Tomas Boy wants someone with a ton of experience as his goalkeeper.
yeah. Well,
Period.
Yeah, and I think that's where Tonyo takes the edge.
Right.
Not by much, but he takes it just because he's had more playing time.
Sure.
Um, yeah, they got that guy, and then they announced Ulises Davila, who had been at Santos, and then I believe he went a year without playing, and then the last 6 months he was in India, the India Super League, uh, and and then that team let him go. So
Wow.
he's yeah
And then he
he's
was the one that was signed by Chelsea after the 2011
he
World Cup.
was he was signed by Chelsea, and he did pretty good his first 2 seasons because they loaned him out to second or third division teams in Spain, and
Right.
he was doing good, but they kept moving him around. Like he would have a good season, and then they'll send him to like Portugal, and then they just made him they turned him into a journeyman. They should have let him just stay in one team and see how well he did.
Yeah, I was really
Uh,
fortunate because he helped the team earn promotion to the first division,
yes, he did.
and then they said thanks, go like you said,
Yeah.
go play
Hey,
somewhere else.
yeah. Here's your reward. Go to third division Portugal. Um, yeah, he was a fan favorite in that one Spanish team. So he's back, Ulises Davila, and but he's not signed. He's doing the preseason, and if he could convince El Jefe, they'll sign him. Uh, and that's and I think Pollo Briseño, but I don't think they've made it official. But I think that they're just like ironing out details. I think Pollo knows he's at you know, he could
So
demand more.
they went for Cesar Montes and end up with Pollo Briseño, right?
Pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah. They uh, go for a player like I'm trying to think of a decent winger right now that isn't like an Edwin Lozano type player, and they end up with Ulises Davila, and yeah, so then they have a chance to get an experienced keeper, and there's not that many on the market, at least Mexican ones on the market, so they end up with so not the summer of spending then that one would expect from that the Chivas fans were expecting. So I think what you're saying, Joel, is that it's been an Elvis.
Tienes el alma di bresciana, hueles a limpia rosa temprana.
It's been an Elvis summer so far for Chivas fans.
Yeah, it's not looking pretty. It's not looking pretty. Yo, and I have some questions for you.
Oh,
It's from the chat.
from the chat.
Yeah, it's a loaded question, yo, and I hope you're prepared, man.
Well, hang on a second. Let me. What you got?
Okay, here it goes, man. It's by Firm65, and he wants to know, do you think Canada will become a more powerful team now that they have their own league, the Canadian Premier League? And then also, he says they have money and resources. And if you think that they can surpass Costa Rica and become the third best team in the region.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me something like, does Pumas,
Boom.
are they more likely to be relegated than win the title? Because frankly, that is a very loaded question. You could ask a Pumas fan right now. But
Wait, there's no relegation in Liga MX, man. After what Veracruz did, who's gonna take relegation serious?
they ended up with 0 points.
Yeah, they still didn't get relegated. They just
And it
paid a
didn't.
fine, and they're back. That's just, yeah.
Right. So that's a really good question, and then thank you for that. I think if they do have the resources and the league prospers, and Canada then can have a league that would rival MLS for the Canadian fanship, so to speak, then yeah, I do think that Canada would have a really good chance. Now we also have to remember that at that point the World Cup will be expanding to 48 teams. So Canada's going to have a much better chance of qualifying for World Cups moving forward because of that. So I do think that if the league does well, if it can uh, uh, give the opportunity to Canadian players to develop and flourish, then sure, of course. I mean, there's no reason why they can't be a power in the region.
I know they're big on hockey. So then I like to see how much more, because I know they've gotten in last years.
Well,
They
they're
had
very
like all
similar.
these.
They're very similar.
What do you mean similar? Oh, the sports.
Yeah.
No, they are. But I'm saying like how passionate people are for hockey. Like if they could have that same type of passion for football, and then yeah, you could see that. You could see how that's gonna help them improve. And I do know, like in recent years, they had uh, a lot of immigrants coming in from Portugal and other parts that are big soccer fans, and I think that's helped with help grow the sport.
Well, yeah, and let's not forget that Canada has a handful of some very cosmopolitan cities. You said they're going to attract a very large swath of folks from really from all over the world that are going to settle there and start families and become Canadians. And there's Montreal, there's Toronto, there's Vancouver, there's
Yeah,
Edmonton, Calgary. I mean, they have a lot of uh, decent sized population centers. And sure, I don't think it's going to happen, overnight. But I think that for 2026, I think Canada, like we mentioned earlier, has a very realistic shot of putting together a team that's good enough to make the knockouts and scare the hell out of somebody.
well, I think they have a lot to build up on. Then if they have their own league and then they have teams in MLS and then they're hosting a World Cup, that's a lot of football right there. And no disrespect to the Central Americans, but all you need is to be properly organized, and you will easily surpass the Honduras, the Salvadors, and the Guatemalas.
Yeah,
Who is just
Canada
it's
certainly
just a
has
shit show down there, huh?
Canada has the most upside of any
Yeah.
team in CONCACAF. There's no question. The other one, Joel, are my buddies, the Curacao, who I think
It's just
who I think have a very realistic
like
chance of
population 150.
hey,
But you know, there was people doing this, and if you're listening, if you're of age, I would recommend doing that because I would have done it. But I know there was people going to some of these small Caribbean islands. They were like semi-pro players, and then they were trying out for these teams, and they were making it just because there's not that many players. And yeah, it's a small team like Turks and Caicos, but dude, you'll get to play FIFA games, official qualifiers, and perhaps a tournament.
now hang on a second, Joel. Now I do think that may be the case for. And maybe at one point was the case for a lot of teams in the Caribbean, but Curacao they have some players. There's no reason they can't be like a Jamaica or Trinidad, as the powers of the Caribbean nations. And let's face it, the hex is better when there's a couple of Caribbean teams in it, I think. Because yes, we might have that crazy long flight to wherever it is.
Caribbean, same as Central America. I mean, if they got their act together, they would have stronger teams.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the Curacao is one of the ones that has its act together. I do think that they see the big picture of being able to qualify for a future world. I think that they're setting their sights on 2026 too. So they're like a dark horse for me, and I could be totally wrong, but I see them as a dark horse in this Gold Cup to make it to the knockouts.
Yes, you've been promoting them, Yon. I'll keep an eye out for them just because of that.
Well, I feel like I'm only doing a public service. I'm only doing a public service. Back to la estufa. Joel. So we have Chivas not making the moves that Chivas fans. Now, is this because porque no hay lana, or because no hay interés, or
No
or
money.
there's Tomás Boy saying, you know what,
No,
I can do with what I got.
Thomas is the last guy you want to blame. He's like Wally George in the hot seat right now. He'll say whatever just to keep the ratings on. Um, yeah, I really can't blame him. I just don't think there's any money there. I don't. That's why I'm saying it's hard to know what's going on. I mean, I don't really know. The team's not gonna say it. Um, they were having all these problems, financial problems, just and then there's all these rumors of Vergara. That he's for the what since last year. Every other week you get he's in his deathbed. I'm surprised he's gone on this long.
Sure. Now,
It
Joel,
was
we talked last week about the fact that that actual goats, when they scream, or when they make noise,
oh man.
sound a little like humans. So I want to introduce a new drop that I've already played a couple times, but I think I want to give it a proper introduction. This is an actual goat making this noise, which I think is very appropriate for the CantinaMX podcast, considering what we spend most of our time talking. That is an actual goat.
It is a good.
And I could not think of a more appropriate drop to use. I mean, we have a bunch of drops that we have
Oh,
for
I,
Chivas. We
I
have
think
this one, Joel. When Chivas TV was trying to get going, we had the every time it
it,
came.
it was, but John, I think you're gonna be playing that goat drop scream because the summer she was man. I think it's gonna help them, but it's gonna hurt fans. They got some friendlies lined up.
Joel, are you telling me that I should make a backup of this file?
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna use it so much I might wear it out.
yes. Chivas has the Colossus Cup where they're playing against America,
Right.
Boca Juniors, and River Plate. It's like a quadrangular, and I mean all of those teams are stronger than Chivas. Uh,
So what's gonna happen
they
after I
are
do what
friendlies. Who knows? They are friendlies.
right.
Those teams could be throwing their reservas, but outcome doesn't look too good.
But isn't
And
that a
then
double-edged sword, though, Joel? Because if Chivas loses, Chivas fans are gonna be right. But if they win, then the expectations will go through the roof. So the first time there's any setback, I mean, it's gonna be so quick to.
yeah, they shouldn't go through the roof just because they're friendlies. And a lot of times teams don't take those games that serious. And then after that they have the International Cup, which I'm
Who are they
guessing
playing? They're not playing like Barcelona or.
yes, yes. Which I'm wondering why they must be thinking now. Why did we invite them again? I mean, I know they're the big name team, but oh man, I think yeah, it's like International
Wait.
Champions
So
Cup or Champions League or something like that. It's
so
called.
La Chofis is gonna play against Barcelona and go. Here's your future right here.
He's play, he's playing. I think they're playing Roma, but it's all European teams. It's all
Right.
like these Champions League caliber European teams.
Here's a here's a
Uh,
here's a loaded Chivas question to ask a Chivas fan. May I ask you?
yes.
More disappointing Chivas career. Marco Fabian. Boy, I can't remember who the other guy I was going to ask you was. Well, I can't ask it now, Hoyle.
Oh, okay, but I got. It's the international. They're gonna play Roma and then they're gonna play Benfica, but the other teams The other teams involved are Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Inter Milan. So yeah, they brought in Chivas to this. To it's someone was like one of these is not like the others. Um, yeah, I think just for brand, a lot of times you want to protect your brand. And if I was Chivas FO, I would have opted out.
Right.
I would love to be in that type of tournament.
Well,
But
I mean,
when your team is doing, like the team that won the doblete, they had Pizarro and they had Gallito and they had Cota and they had all these. Yeah, you want to take that team to that cup.
is La
But
Trophies not enough for you, Joel?
trophy,
Can't Trophies just put the team on his shoulders like he was starting to do at the end of the season and just say,
he, he
"Vámonos"?
probably can. He probably can. So I hope he sees these tournaments and he's like, this is my last chance.
That's
That's
right.
my last ride. Yeah. So I hope he does take advantage because he is a great talent when he's on it. It's like
Well, the thing that I don't understand is that he seems to be on it like on not in every game, but like most of every game. I mean, not every one of his passes is good, but to me, what makes Trophy so, I don't want to say the word special, but I'll just say different, is that he tries things, and not stupid things like a back heel or the patented Cuauhtemoc ass pass. I once saw colección privada. Remember that thing they used to do on Televisa?
yes,
They had a colección privada of pases con la pompis de Cuauhtemoc Blanco. Times he used his buttocks to pass a ball, and and he did it enough that they had a top 10. So yeah, there you go. But
top
anyway,
10 back passes.
yeah, no, but I just like Trophies because he has vision, and it's not going to work all the time, but at least he tries it. And they always take him out. Are they taking him out because he's not, is he not doing his end on defense or whatever it is? But it has to be really frustrating to him to be the only guy that seems to be creating, and then to get yanked. So, but he did, but Tomas Boy did seem to have completely different plans for him, and La Trophies responded. So, like I mentioned before, I couldn't think of a better player for La Trophies to learn under than Tomas Boy as a coach or as a mentor for that position, because he was really good. So that is I'm an eternal optimist Ho, when it comes to things like that.
And you sound,
I want to
yeah.
believe. I want to believe, Ho.
You also sound like a Toma Jefe believer.
Well, I'm not too convinced with Tomas Boy, but I agree with you, especially when it comes to a team like that. I think it's like 20% coaching, 80% team,
Yes,
and maybe at Chivas it might be a little less. But what I do think he has is something that I think fits Chivas right now perfectly, which is just a huge. He just, for whatever reason, thinks he's always been disrespected, because remember at the time when he was playing, he was. I'm trying to. There was him and Wendy Mendizabal, I think, were the two big. And he was with Cruz Azul as the two really strong midfielders in Mexico. But he was, a much bigger name and much bigger player, and just a big star. But Hugo was there, and Hugo was in Mexico City, so he got all the press, and I think it just chapped him to no end. And I'm so I think he always played with just a huge chip on his shoulder, and he loved to stick at the Pumas every chance he could, and they did. They beat him I think they beat him in a final even. So yeah, he and Chivas right now, I think, because of the fact that they may not necessarily, as you have pointed out repeatedly and relentlessly on this podcast tonight, that they're not the most talented team right now, and they're not really trying to add to that. But they certainly have enough talent to compete. Not to win a championship, probably not, but to make the league, absolutely. And then they just need the right push. I think right now he's the guy that can push the buttons that they need to push. I think.
Yeah. I think they messed up last season sending away Saldivar. You don't send away your best striker.
No,
That just made no sense at all.
no.
I know they brought Alexis Vega, but he's still unproven. One good season's not, you know, doesn't mean that that guy's already,
Talk about opportunities. Alexis, we're talking about Gold Cup opportunities. Alexis Vega's he's another one that has a enormous opportunity. All he has to do is score 3, 4, 5 goals. Again, remember who they're playing. They're playing Cuba and Martinique, so there are going to be some chances there for him. And maybe get one in a quarterfinal, whatever it is. He could really help himself out. So definitely another player. But anyway, so my point is, Joel is that Tomas Boy, I think, has the personality that would fit Chivas right now. I think that he and I think that the players will respond. And one thing I will say about Tomas is that he was one of the commentators in the 15 Gold Cup. That was the Gold Cup where the Mexico won. Where in the semifinal against Panama, they got 2 penalty calls. If you remember right, they were iffy. There's no question about it. But they were soft. But ultimately, I think we all discussed this time they were penalties.
Yeah, to me they were penalties.
Yeah, and I forgot where I was going with that. Where we're talking. Help me out here, Joel.
Yeah, I don't know where you were going with that.
Man.
Just,
what was it that you're drinking there, Joel? Because I feel like I've had a couple from osmosis.
I was drinking a michelada, man. I'm drinking it's a new one, man. I saw it at the store. It's a Estrella Jalisco beer, and it's a mango michelada made with clamato. And I guess they're co-brewing with Golden Road. And I had to try it, but it's I'm not gonna lie, and it's pretty good.
Right. I do remember where I was going with that. So Tomas Boy was a commentator for Univision, and he actually during the match had some incredibly insightful thing of like he says, this isn't working because of this. What they need to do is do this, and then they would do it, and it would work perfectly. And he's like, there you go. So I think that was kind of a bit eye-opening, being a little bit eye-opening.
He gets a bad rap as a coach, and I think it's a lot of times because as fans we like undermine just how difficult it could be. Same with players.
Right.
We'll say players suck, and it's like it's incredibly difficult just to make it to first division.
Sure.
Because there's millions of players out there, so it's not an easy just to make it. It's very difficult, and he's gotten a bad rap, but he's quite average. He's not really bad as they make him out to be.
Yeah. He's never had the success as a coach as he had as a player, for sure. There's no question.
And also we measure it by like championships and whatnot, but he hasn't really been in big teams. He did all right in Morelia, reaching semifinals a few times, and then he played a final with them. He saved Atlas from relegation, and then he was at Cruz Azul where he was just average.
Right. Well, that didn't help him with the team that they put around him either. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think he's bad. I think just the media likes to. They need to create noise. They need to create scandal or just whatever. And I think that has hurt him. I've seen Chiva fans attacking him. He's out there talking a big game, but what else does he have to do? He needs to pump up the players.
Right.
He's not gonna say, "Oh man, we suck." Can get ready for an. He has to say this. This is the best. He has to just get his players pumped and at least convince the players that he believes in them.
And,
Um,
and, and, and lost in all this, Joel, is the fact that, Chivas, I mean, I'm sure Chivas fans are aware that even though, as you pointed out, it's not necessarily it's meaningless now, the relegation, but Chivas is they are in the muck.
they are, but I mean, for my fellow Chillarmanos, don't. I think Boy is the last on that list of blame. You gotta blame the FO first.
See, I
First.
feel like every time that you say the word Chi Hermano, Joel, I think I have to.
Yeah. Oh, you're enjoying that one a bit too
It is
much. You
it is so
you
appropriate.
are gonna wear it out. Uh, um, no, but I mean, it's not his fault, of players that the club got rid of and how the club has failed to bring in other players. So I mean, can't really blame him much. He was at least willing to get in that sinking ship, you know, and try to row it. So
Right.
I wouldn't. Yeah, but I was like going on Twitter and he was just getting attacked left and right, and I'm like, damn. uh, there's still that Mati love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean
So
that's
what's it going to take then for Boy to win the Chivas fans over? Because it sounds like he's won you over already.
no. I don't think he has won me over. I'm just not gonna hate on him. Same with Cardoxo. I wasn't hating on him. He improved the team compared to Matias' last two tournaments. He had improvements where one of them was he won at home, and the other one was he made more points. Even if it was 5-2, that was still more points. That's still improvements. And so I mean, it's gonna be tough. But moving on, Yon, I think we've exhausted the Chiva talk. There's other teams I wanna get into.
There's other teams.
Yeah,
There is America, Joel.
yes,
Club, Club America, Joel.
yes.
The greatest. Ask any America fan, and they'll tell you that America is the greatest team on the planet. On the planet.
Yeah, I think they announced that they're not going after a striker, and I think they're making a mistake right there. And I've been talking about this in the podcast I did with Chiquis, and I was saying I'm expecting them to make a move and bring in a top striker, you know. And one of my guesses was Brian and Brian Fernandez, who he's with the Timbers. He's in MLS now. Um, but I felt that team like America, you need to just constantly be going after top players, especially when you're now competing with the Tigres and the Monterreys.
There is a top player out there, Joel, that would be a big get for America, and because I think he's gettable, and that's James Rodriguez. Joel, is that a move that you think that America should make?
Definitely, you know what? Definitely, yeah. I think he's he's talented, even though he's being devalued in Europe. Real doesn't want him, and then Bayern was like, we don't want him either. But I think he's still very talented. He would be a good fit for Liga MX.
Yeah, I think he would do very well. Now they have Nico Castillo, who I'm not sure if he made the Spain's 23, or I'm sorry, Chile's 23, but Roger Martinez did make Colombia's 23 for the Copa America. So obviously somebody thinks Roger Martinez is good enough to play on his country's national team, and those are the strikers that America has. You don't think they're good enough?
No, those could be good, but I mean they have like Mateus, and then they have Henry Martin. But I feel like And then the French guy, man, so Jeremy, is always injured, right?
Right. Oh, the French guy.
Yeah, that guy, he's just there collecting the check. Um, so I mean, to me, those are three players that are just not that reliable, and I would have thrown the towel on them. I would replace one of them. One of them has to go. As for Henry Martin, also like it seems to me like Piojo doesn't have much faith in him, or just doesn't use him as much. So I mean, I would rather bring in a player that's hot because the big teams always do that.
Right.
It was like even Barcelona, you would see them that they would win, and then they would still bring in a big player the
So
following
so
season.
so Nico Castillo is on Chile's Copa America. So you're talking two
Yeah,
players that made their respective national teams squads for their upcoming tournament. Y tú dices que necesitan otro. That is,
yeah.
if I didn't know any better, Joel, I would say that you're a secret Americanista, Joel.
No, no,
No. So
no, no, Chiva, Chiva de corazón.
if we asked
No,
your significant other about America, would she say this?
Club America, they suck.
it's, it's just you just have to factor in how there could be an injury, there could be a drop in form. You know, you have some of these things to take into account. So that's why you always want to keep bringing in players to keep the competition strong within the club, within the squad, which is where I think Chivas has failed. They made some of these dumb moves like getting rid of Saldivar just because they brought in Vega, and then now they got rid of Godinez, who
Yeah,
was another
and they
player
put that
showing
Madrigal.
promise.
Yeah, they put that Madrigal guy on the lista transferibles too.
Well, Madrigal was belongs to Monterrey,
Oh,
so yeah, which it was the dumb move because Madrigal wasn't playing. He would just be used for cup games, and then they did like a trade, and so which is like the dumbest trade ever, man. That's like when you're a little kid and you're trading baseball cards, and you probably don't know about one player and you just trade them. Um, yeah, it was dumb. So Chivas sent Saldivar, who had been their more their more consist their most consistent striker, on in exchange for Madrigal, who
right.
was just being used for cup games. I don't.
Not only
I
that,
still I
Monterrey.
still can't explain that.
All Monterrey did was weaken Chivas.
Yeah, Monterrey didn't even need Saldivar, man.
Right.
They played him a few times and he still scored a couple goals. He scored like three, but didn't even need to use him, man.
So so
Um,
so so Saldívar playing sparingly for Monterrey scores the same
yeah,
number of goals as Alexis Vega.
and
It's
more than Madrigal.
exactly
Man, see that's where Chivas is just they keep getting it wrong, and I think Godinez was one of the players that was showing promise. He hasn't gotten as much playing time,
I
but
think
I
that was the player that Profe was very high on. Is he not at the Toulon tournament right now?
I don't I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll have to check, but bet I wouldn't bet my shekels on it. But I still think that's another bad move. I would have kept him. You want to keep some competition right there, especially like it doesn't seem likely that they're gonna be able to bring in a top striker. So I mean, you got those players. The one thing is that I felt that they just never they seem afraid to bench Pulido,
Right.
which is one thing that you would have to do. Like so, you know, if 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 you want some of these players to get better, Pulido isn't playing good. Bench him
Well,
and
Pulido
give
had
it to this guy.
they brought him in. He paid off because he was able to. Yeah, he scored.
Yes.
He scored big goals in the at big moments in the period when they won the trophy. So that investment paid off. But at some point you're going to have to cut your losses. And I mean, if he's not performing at that same level and hasn't been for the past couple of years, now I know he got injured, and I think that was, again, Mexico playing on a artificial surface. I'm not saying that the foul would have happened either way, but it was on an artificial surface. I think it was in Seattle, right before Gold Cup, where Pulido gets hurt, and frankly just hasn't been the same player.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
but I
if
mean,
that's the case,
sometimes players need that. Like
yeah,
if he
it changes
sees
the
that,
series.
oh man, this dude's taking my spot, then he'll start working harder. As opposed to it's like I'm secure here. No one can take my spot.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to Pulido, and again, this is coming from a completely unbiased opinion of a team, because when I see Chivas and America, there's I'm as transparent as I could be, and to me, Pulido just hasn't earned that respect. He hasn't earned that yet, to be treated like that.
No, no. So we'll see what happens. But I know the team's still banking on him. I don't know if Tomas has gotten to him. He was talking about he wants to challenge for the goal scoring title.
Right.
It's a big, it's a big,
We
it's a big difference. Well, it's a big difference from a few seasons back where he was saying we don't have the players to compete.
we we,
So
we we brought it back full circle again, Joel.
yes,
We were supposed to talk about Club America's forwards, and we
I mean
we
that
devolved.
was you. Yeah,
Oh, we devolved into more Chivas
we're
talk.
we're Chivas talk. Yeah, I'm trying to expand and cover the
So
other teams.
Club America then, Joel, they need to make a big splash.
Well, that's just. I would like to have an Americanista here so they could give us their insight on what they feel the team needs. Uh, just not one that thinks that it's Piojo. Piojo's the least of their problems.
Right.
Um, yeah, but player-wise, yeah, you're competing with some strong teams right now. So yeah, you need to stay on edge. But I do think they're going to be at the forefront again, even if they don't. But I do feel that you always want to have some sort of edge. You always need something extra. I mean, look at Tigres. Despite that squad they had, they still went and got like Edu Vargas. They still went and got more and more
Yeah, they got him.
strikers.
They got Ener Valencia. They
Yeah,
they definitely loaded up, and it paid off for them. No, I understand where you're coming from, and I looked at moves that Pumas made, and Pumas was kind of the same thing. They're just bringing in guys that you know let's see if they work out. They did bring that guy who he actually played in the Gold Cup in 2019. I'm sorry, 2017. He was with Necaxa at the time. He was there. They're starting forward. Anyway, so I can't remember what his name is, but he's a Puma now. So they're and then they brought in so Atlas sold a player to Pumas. How weird is that?
Atlas. Well, Atlas is under new management, so we'll
That's
see
right.
what happens there. We'll see what happens there. All signs seem to be good so far.
So do you
As
do
at
you
least,
agree? Do you agree with me that the Grupo Salinas really didn't sell the team? They just
yeah.
outsourced the management.
Well, I I see it like the dude that used to own Dodgers and he sold the team, but I think he just kept the parking lot,
Right.
so he just gets money for the parking lot,
The
which is like $20 per
parking lot
car.
and
God
concessions.
damn! It's like
Right.
god damn. I would like to own a piece of that parking lot. Anyways, even if it's just like 10 cars, but
Oh, I can
so
promise you, Joel, in LA, the parking's a lot more than $20 down for Dodger Stadium.
Oh well,
sort of third tier
Last
tournament.
time I went, that's what it was. But yeah, I remember when I went with you to the Coliseum, you paid 50.
I dropped down of yeah, because
You
we were
did.
running late, so we had no
I was
choice.
like, God damn.
We had no
I was like,
choice.
God damn, Yon right here is the big spender, man.
That's right.
I would have parked like 2 miles down, 2 miles, and then called an Uber. Um, but I feel it's like that. They sold pretty much all of the team, and then they just kept a very small percentage, just like enough to say, hey, we're still gonna show the games on TV Azteca,
Right.
because that's mainly what they want,
Right.
is to be able to show more league games on their TV station, especially now that there's more. Like Mexico only had two stations that were free TV, which was Televisa and TV Azteca. But last year they expanded to four. So now there's four stations that are,
Yeah, but
you don't need
understand
pay.
that both of those have multiple channels. It's not
No,
just
no,
one channel.
yeah, it's true. But I'm saying one of them I think is with Slim Claro, and they've been they beat them to the Olympics and other such tournaments.
Yeah, no, there's competition for sure.
So yeah, you want to at least have, you want a piece of that Liga MX pie. So I think that's their main concern, just to show games. They don't care too much about the team or how it does, as long as they have,
Right. There's like,
you
why
know,
can't y'all be like Morelia?
Morelia. So yeah, that's what's going on.
Because they
That's
still own
seems
Morelia,
like a
right?
decent partnership, huh?
Doesn't TV Azteca still own Morelia?
Yes, which I thought, that they were gonna like. I thought that's the team they were gonna sell. But I guess there's just
It
more
just goes to show you,
bankability with Atlas.
right, just how dysfunctional Atlas is. That like not even one of the corporate giants of uh,
Well,
of Mexican business can come in and fix that mess.
what, I'm gonna throw it out there, Yon.
Oh, hang on, Owen, hang on. Now, are we doing dramatic here, or are we doing?
Dramatic.
Oh, dramatic.
Yes.
All right, let me find dramatic. Hang on. All right, here we go. Hang on. Dale, joven.
Uh, no, I think if it goes well, just because of the market and the history of the team, I wouldn't be surprised if it would eventually displace Santos. Because as good as Santos has done, they, they still don't have a big fan base.
Right. Well, they're in a smaller town.
Yeah, but I think that Atlas has that potential to eventually, if Atlas would do as well as Santos is doing, that they would have a way bigger fan base. They probably even have one as it is, and that's with the team sucking hard, man.
Can you imagine? Can
So
you
if
just imagine
if I'm
when?
Dan, huh?
Well, just how many rojinegros will come out of the wood? Like
Oh yeah,
who just I mean, it'll be like the Night King, raising his arms and have the Atlas army of
Dead right.
of the undead go. I've been an Atlas fan all along.
Yes, yeah, yeah, I could see that happening. I could see that really happening. So if I'm Danny boy, I would be a little bit worried. I mean, even though it would be 10, 20 years in the making, but it could lead to that. It could
Right.
lead to, because we see it with Grupo Pachuca where they have the two teams, but they're both small teams, so one hasn't been able to overtake the other. But with Atlas, it's different, man. It's a whole different ballgame. Atlas is just they've been able to maintain popular for so many years, and they have so many big names attached to it.
I mean,
Guardado,
their fans,
Marquez,
right? Their fans are like Tigres fans, except they've seen
yeah,
their team lose for 70 years.
and
That's the only difference.
Yeah, and it's a Jalisco team, so from the big state and the city,
Well,
so
dude,
they just have
it's in the second biggest city in the country.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see. But I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, Yon. We're talking 10, 20 years. But
You know, Joel, I've never been to Guadalajara, Joel. No,
oh,
yeah,
damn.
yeah. Es que la verdad, Joel, no me gusta ir a provincia, güey.
No provincia. Well, Yon, on that note, I have to get going.
See, I've insulted you, Joel. So now I feel bad. That was just the chilango in me,
No,
the
no,
fresa in me coming out there.
it's
I,
work.
I feel bad. Oh, okay. I feel bad.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's. I'm gonna leave for work soon.
so
I
Joel,
work graveyard shift.
I am hoping to when we get back from Dallas on Sunday night that we will do a little
Yes.
and I'll have audio for you from that press conference. So I know you'll
Oh,
want
that's right.
yeah. So you'll have we will have that and
Maybe you could sneak in a question in there.
I will. Well, what would you like to know?
I don't know. I have to think on it. I have to think on it, Yon.
Do you want to find out what his favorite like fish is or
I don't know. Oh man.
so that
No, no,
you can surprise him when you cook dinner. Hey, I made your favorite.
no, no, not nothing like that.
Glorious chicken pepperoni. Oh, see, I was hoping you would know what that was from, Hoyt.
I don't know.
Have you ever seen the movie Seems Like Old Times?
Nope.
Highly
I-
recommend it. It's Chevy Chase, Goldie Hawn.
Oh,
Very very funny.
okay. Good cast. Okay.
Very funny. You will like it. Seems like old times.
All right. I'll
Yeah.
put it
You
on my queue.
watch it with your missus, and you guys will
I
enjoy.
will.
You will
I
both
will,
enjoy it.
I will do that, Yon.
All right, Hoy. Well, we'll talk Sunday night
Yes.
after the big game. Like I said, I'll have audio from that. I'm hoping to have audio from some other folks as well. We'll see how that goes, and looking forward to covering the game and seeing a lot of folks. And it's funny. I have like a different set of production families. I have my Austin production family, the folks I work with here in Austin when we do events, and I have one in Dallas because I do work quite a bit in Dallas, and I have my Mexican soccer community that I'm very very thankful and proud to be a member of. So happy to catch up with those folks over up in the AT&T Stadium. But Joel, we'll do this again Sunday night. Thank you very much for joining us, and
Yes.
you for listening. Thanks for participating on the chat.
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
were you helping him out on the chat? Because I did not look at the chat once. I'll be honest.
I did. I went in late, a bit late, but I
Yeah.
did. I did participate.
Yeah.
While it was active. Uh,
Well, good. Well, thanks to those who participated on the chat. And again, you can listen to this and our previous versions of this podcast that you can have downloaded to your phone directly by subscribing on iTunes and on Google Play. So we do appreciate y'all for doing that. My name is John Jagoob. This is the CantinaMX podcast. We will talk again next week. For me and for Joel Aceves, we thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later on. Thanks. Good night.